Hey, it's Dave Jordan's back. Hi, Dave.
King of your comic day!
Yeah, tonight we've got special guest host Dave Jordan. Max couldn't be here, and we're on a tight schedule, but Dave reads comics and makes comics, so we're going to talk about all that.
Yay!
So, Dave.
Yes.
Bring us into the honorable mentions, if you will.
Honorable mentions. 5 Ghosts, special number 1.
SM Vidari on art. I'm going to take special notice of that because his entry into Jim Henson's Witches was
Great stuff.
probably my favorite issue.
Not being a reader of 5 Ghosts, I actually thought it held up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I've read no 5 Ghosts, so...
Yeah, it was a good... Well, it was 2 stories, both standalone, and I felt like I got a good feel for what the book is about without having a frame of reference of having read, 20 issues or however many are out.
Totally.
Giant Days.
Oh, yes. Giant Days number 3.
Of 6.
Mm-hmm. And another one that you haven't read previous issues to, right?
I have not, but I read this one, and I found it delightful.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was funny and charming, and I never got the feeling like I was really missing anything. I really enjoyed it.
Well, right on. What's the last of the honorable mentions? Oh, yeah. Ha! Saga. Saga's on the honorable mentions.
Honorable mention goes to Saga, because this is the 28th great issue that they've put out in a row.
And how boring would it be if it was always number 1 on the top 5?
It got kicked out of the top 5 just because it's like, come on guys, now you're just showing off.
Yeah. So,
we get it. You make the best comic on the stands. It was great. Another great issue of Saga.
Of course.
Yeah.
So now we have Dave Jordan's top 5.
My top 5.
Number 5. Coming in at number
Mythic.
5, it's Mythic from Phil
Mythic.
Hester and John McCrea?
From Phil Hester and John McCrea? I think it's John McCrea.
All right.
This was in line with, say, the Exterminators or Federal Bureau of Physics. Kind of like a shadow organization under the guise of being a working man that has to deal with some, crazy stuff.
Like trolls and...
Trolls and demons and weird stuff. This was really funny. Which was, I don't want to say surprising, but I wasn't expecting it. Because a lot of the stuff Phil writes tends to be, like Deep Sleeper or The Coffin, kind of heady, almost existential kind of stuff. And this was just fun. It was a fun romp.
All right, coming in at number 4.
Injection.
From the team that brought you the only Moon Knight book you need to read.
Felt very similar to the first issue of Trees. Ellis just drops you right in the middle of all this stuff going on. And it's kind of up to you to just try and figure it out.
I felt like Trees issue 1 for me was a little stronger from the world building aspect. I felt like I really learned a lot about the world. Whereas this one was... And you didn't learn much about the characters, I guess. This one had a stronger character presence in the first issue, but I don't know what their world is at all, other than messed up, seemingly.
Yeah, I responded more to it because I felt like I got more from the characters. I felt like, even though I wasn't entirely sure as to what was happening all the time, I could at least... There was more for me to grab onto, to relate to.
Definitely. Trees number 1 didn't make me laugh once. I was just like, that's a cool idea. Whoa, that's another cool idea. Whereas with this one, I was just like, that's a cool character. I like that she likes sandwiches.
Yeah.
And other stuff.
And also, Declan Shalvey is somehow still doing work unlike anything we've seen him do before, and it's gorgeous. Jordi Belair on colors.
Always a pleasure.
Again, delivers a perfectly colored book. They're both doing really interesting things in terms of changing style slightly to delineate different time periods or maybe different environments. I'm definitely in. I want more, for sure. I'm not quite sure what I want more of yet, but there's more in here and I want it.
I would like to understand, what's happening. That'd be cool.
Yeah. This is very much just you're just getting your tip of the iceberg here.
Yeah. Coming in at number 3.
Rebels number 2.
Rebels number 2.
Now,
so,
Foxi didn't love Rebels #1.
I did not love Rebels #1. I started to love it, and then it jumped ahead in time, and that, like, it detached me from the character, and just kind of... I didn't care as much from the time jump forward, so...
I'll be honest, I didn't love Rebels #1 either, but I thought this one was pretty much head and shoulders better than the first one in almost all regards.
And look at that Becky Cloonan cover. I mean...
Great cover. It's a much smaller issue. It's a more quiet issue. And again, it's more character-based, which I really...
I think I would enjoy that more, because that was the first one, it was just like too many, like, it's like people arguing and...
Yeah. This one is basically just 2 scenes. One is very character-heavy, and one advances the plot a little bit more. Again... Perfect color by Jordi Belair, picking the perfect palette for this book. Doesn't look anything like Injection looks because, you know,
Girl's got range.
She's the best, you know. Really, really enjoyed this. This reminded me of, like, the best of Northlanders, where you're really actually getting to know the people and you're not just following a plot.
Coming in at #2.
Miss Marvel!
That is...
Number 15.
That is pretty surprising from you, Dave Jordan.
Why is that?
You're going with a Marvel book about a teenage girl who is an Inhuman. So, justify yourself.
Well, I tell you.
Fans of the show will know that I am a diehard fan of Miss Marvel. But how did you come to this?
Fans of the show know how good this book is. This book is consistently great. Every issue is fantastic. And above all else, it's very different. It's a different voice, it's a different feel than pretty much any other Marvel book. It's funny, it's got a lot of fun adventure. Kamala Khan is a great character. It's a very unique voice. There's there's at least a couple of really great kind of nerd fan service moments in this. And I like the fact that it just stands on its own. You don't have to be reading...
Yeah, you don't have to know who these guys are.
You don't have to be reading anything else to enjoy what's happening in this book.
And I think that's a testament to both Sana Amanat and G. Willow Wilson for being able to balance continuity and just, like, really core character storytelling.
Yeah. It's just great. I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be in the top 5, because it almost... has a Saga thing where it's 15 issues and they're all great. But I enjoyed this specific issue so much that I threw it in there.
Coming in at #1.
Harrow County.
From Cullen
1.
Bunn and...
Tyler Crook.
Hey! You own some Tyler Crook art.
I do. Plenty. Bad critique to say it's everything I wanted it to be, but it really was. It has atmosphere... It has legitimate creepiness. It's a very lived-in world. Tyler is painting the whole thing.
Yeah, that was impressive and frankly surprising. You don't get many books from any publisher that the entire art duties are carried by one person.
Yeah.
So
he did paint all of Bad Blood as well. So he's no stranger to the watercolors. Even though this dealt with supernatural elements, it still felt very real and very believable and very possible, which I think is a pretty admirable feat, or I should say admirable achievement for sure.
And I suppose we should say the premise is it's a horror book about a witch's comeuppance, a vengeance.
Sure. That's certainly the setup.
Yeah.
For sure. Mike Mignola says, a rare thing, both wonderfully charming and genuinely disturbing. I think that's apt. That's pretty much how I would describe the book. It's really pretty fantastic. I think Tyler's style is perfectly suited for it. He's got a very kind of real but stylized approach to his art. Almost like a Will Eisner kind of thing. This is the best he's ever looked. I mean, the color work is fantastic, and just the figure work is all fantastic. And like I said, really just a really fleshed out environment and world that really feels lived in and real.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, Now we'll present the Foxy's real number one for the week, because Dave somehow missed this.
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars number 2.
Number 2.
Which you grudgingly admit better than issue 1.
Absolutely.
And
Not grudgingly. I freely admitted it was better than number 1.
I guess you grudgingly read the second issue after not being impressed with issue 1.
Well, I didn't even read issue 1 until I came in today.
That's right, I made you read both.
Yeah.
Because I knew we would be talking about it, because I had every faith that it would be fantastic, and I was not disappointed.
This was a very good issue, especially after issue 1, which I was not that impressed with. I felt kind of left behind a little bit by issue 1.
Yeah, you were very concerned with, like, implied backstory and, like, missing pieces or something.
Knowing that I had not read the past, 3 years of Avengers books, I felt like I was, maybe unfairly, but I felt like I was missing a lot of the setup, which I was. But this issue, I felt like I didn't need any setup. I didn't even need to know what happened in issue 1 necessarily.
But
I think it helped.
Yeah, I mean,
but it wasn't. This one pretty much just drops you in this whole new
kind of like an alternate.
Quo?
Yeah, it's an alternate reality of the Marvel that we know.
Yeah. It's got a lot of Thors in it.
A lot of Thors.
A lot of good Doctor Doom.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, the Doom in there.
Some good Doom.
Doom.
I like some good Doom. For sure. And
my favorite page, which I will cut to right now, was also the Marvel Zombies tie-in part. That You don't have to be a fan of Marvel Zombies to appreciate what Ribic does here.
Sure. Yeah, I thought this issue looked better than the first issue.
There was more room to breathe, it seemed. Like, the first one, there's just so much they were trying to pack in. But, and I thought you had a really good critique of the first one. Like, maybe if they had done more, like, man-on-the-street view of what was going on, it would have been easier to, like, engross yourself in, because you would have been in the shoes of these people who don't know what's going on.
Yeah, the first one seemed very much like we're going to drop you in the middle of all this punching. Without being totally clear what the stakes were. I thought it could have benefited more from, like you said, a little bit more of a...
Like what Kurt
view.
Busiek did with Marvels.
Yeah, a little bit more of like the everyman's view of what was happening with all of these super people punching each other.
Mm-hmm.
But this one didn't really need that at all.
No, this one needed no adjustment. This was really... Like, as much as I liked the first issue, this was a stronger issue.
Yeah.
I will agree to that.
May or may not be super connected to Hickman's Fantastic Four, which I also, loved that book, so if this does end up tying more into that, it could stand to reason that I might enjoy it a little bit more.
It seems like people who read Hickman's Fantastic Four and Hickman's Ultimates run, and then of course the clear connection,
for sure.
Yeah. His Avengers run, obviously, but little easier to overlook his Ultimates run and his Fantastic Four run. They all play huge roles in this.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to have read them, but if you did, there's a lot to like about this.
Yeah. As far as event books go, this was a pretty solid issue. Nobody can claim that Jonathan Hickman doesn't know how to plan things.
Yeah, he's like a scientist of writing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, enjoyable.
Yeah.
I would have given it an honorable mention.
Yeah. And I would have given it probably number 1 or number 2 this week, depending. Probably number 1. But let's be honest, Saga came out this week.
It's true. It's true. But Saga can't always be number 1.
No, though it is.
Right.
So, last but not least, so you just released a comic.
I did.
Where do we go from here? It's number 1 of... Do you know how many?
It's number 1 of however many I decide to make.
Is this like a pre-planned arc? Do you know where it's going?
It's very simply a book about people. 2 old friends that reconnect years after having a falling out. And we don't know exactly what happened right away. We get a little bit of a story in the first issue where we find out what happened, but not what caused it, and none of the real history, but we know that these 2 people have a history together. I have a pretty good idea of where it's going. I have it planned out.
Do you know what like the last page is? Are you Brian K. Vonning this thing?
No, not at all. And it's very much, when I started working on it, I very much took the approach that I would work on it until I felt like it was finished. 6 issues, or 30 issues, or 60 issues, or 100 issues, I don't know. I have the next couple issues planned out. Issue 2 is already written and thumbnailed, and I'm just kind of going to go with it. I like the idea of being able to work on something that I can work on for a little while and then maybe put down and work on something else for a little while and then come back to it. If I can keep myself on schedule, it will be quarterly. I'm going to start penciling it this week, most likely, and it'll probably take about a month to pencil and ink, and then it's all DIY, so I have to do all the scanning and prepping the files for printing, and
then wait for the print to come in
and send it off and wait, and yeah, so turnaround ends up being, through all the time that it takes to write and get everything done, a couple of months. So I'm hoping to stay on a quarterly schedule.
So that this is like your big project in the background while you're doing your Sadmans and your occasional astronaut comics and what have you.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of my world that I'm kind of trying to build, and it'll probably be built slowly, but hopefully it'll be rich enough that I can just tell a lot of stories, either moving forward from the point of issue 1 or going back further in history and telling towards issue 1. I think there's I when I came up with the idea, I thought that there was potential for a lot of stories there. So
There is the old adage, like, write what you know. Do you know this? Is the falling out the thing you can relate to? Because something that you haven't really specifically mentioned is that the two characters in question are both like older women.
It's true. They're supposed to be late 20s.
Right, which is what I got. Like late 20s, early 30s was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But what drew you to that as a pair of protagonists?
Well, it wasn't necessarily a conscious decision. I kind of came up with the idea for the world first, and then...
And by the world, are you implying that this is not our world?
No, I just mean, like, I came up with the idea for the setting and the environment first, and that's actually planned out much further than we see in issue 1.
Where is it set?
Well, it's not set in a real place, but I do have
some like locations and whatnot.
Yeah, a vague part of the country that it's in, and the relationship between where the characters are now and the town that they grew up in together. And yeah, I actually, I think I'm surely influenced by like Love and Rockets and Strangers in Paradise and that kind of long-running, almost soap opera relationship character drama. And it just so happens that most of Love and Rockets is about women, and Strangers in Paradise is ultimately about 2 women, and it was never like this is something specific that happened to me, or these are specific people that I know. It's more just that these are hopefully authentic people, and it's an authentic situation, hopefully. Everybody has had a falling out with an old friend, and everybody has had drama with people that they know. Everybody has had that moment where they reconnect with somebody that they haven't talked to for 10 years or whatever. And everybody's been through that kind of situation. So it was more about creating a real feeling than conveying something specifically that had happened to me. It's not autobiographical at all. So
you have it for sale on an Etsy page, is that correct?
yes, yeah.
There's a link on your website.
There is. DaveJordanArt.com. There's a preview of the first, 3 or 4 pages on there, and then a link to my Etsy store. It's also available here.
Here at Astro Zombies.
Here at Astro Zombies. It's right here, right on the shelf.
And then also on your website, people can check out the Sandman webcomic you've been doing for, what, like 40-ish?
I just did 39.
Okay.
Well, I did 39, and then I've had a handful of guest contributors, so I've done 35, 34 of them. Typically, at least once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if I get really excited, I'll do a bunch in a row. I'll do 3 or 4 of them, like, right in a row, 3 or 4 days in a row, but usually it's about once or twice a week.
Just whenever you get the inspiration.
Yep.
And speaking of inspiration, again, Sandman, what was that about?
So there is a little bit of a story behind that one. My wife really loves Sandman Mystery Theater. But she's missing the last issue. She doesn't have the last issue. So one day I was searching to try and find the last issue for her, and instead of typing Sandman Mystery Theater, I accidentally typed Sadman Mystery Theater, and I thought that was really funny.
and so a comic strip was born.
So it was born. I couldn't believe nobody had used it before, and I spent like 2 days really trying to find another one, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I thought it was like such a funny idea to have a world of superheroes where there are people who have superpowers that are worthwhile, but he's not one of them.
Will we meet these worthwhile superheroes?
Well, you do early on. There's a guy, his name is Huge Man, and he can fly, and he's strong,
And I imagine he's pretty big.
He's huge, yeah, he's a huge man. But for the most part, they're just regular people. They just all happen to be superheroes. And that's just...
So is it kind of like top 10 in that way? Like everyone is a superhero in this place?
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh.
I don't think we've really met anybody that's not somehow superhero-y.
Is his cat powered in any way?
Well, I wonder if I can talk about that without giving too much away.
Oh, really? There's spoilers there.
The conceptual, the high concept, the world of Sandman is way, way bigger than anybody knows.
Huh. You intend to explore that?
Yeah, I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
I haven't gotten there yet, but that is actually one of the little hints along the way that things might not be exactly as they seem.
So watch for the cat.
The cat, or there's a couple other ones. Long-time readers may have already picked up on some of them.
All right. Anything else you'd like to say? Parting words, Dave Jordan?
Buy my book. Yay.
There you go. All right. Have a good one. Bye. Bye, everybody.